skip it. Don't read it.
That's the one we just did. We want the one after. That's it.
This feels right.
Day is gone, night has come, stealing with it the heat of the sun. Soon summer fled, chased by the fall, followed by winter which ravaged us all. First we're born, then we die. All things change, though we don't know why. Love rushes in, then runs away, painting the blue sky a dull shade of gray. When was the laughter of childhood choked by the passing of years? Why were the dreams we had yesterday soiled by the sorrow of tears? Where were the hopes we held high, shattered by our doubts and fears? When the springtime comes again, will I still be here?
Seamus rocks back and forth on his desk chair, snorting more cocaine. Taps his head and addresses the skull again and points to the line of cocaine on his desk.
Hey, Siggy, want a little Coke?
Shakespeare shakes his head sorrowfully in response. The lights fade. Scene 4. The ward. Shakespeare returns to the railing and addresses the audience.
Listen out there, if you dare to come near. It's 10 o'clock, when the doctors swarm out to perform their ritual roles, concealing dark shadows behind white coats. They mutter their rigamaroles.
Seamus moves about the patients in his long white
Rigamaroles.
attending coat and stethoscope, glaring at them and scribbling down notes on his medical pad.
Undress with you their dissecting eyes if you've committed some sin. If you can't pass their clandestine tests, you're stuck in their loony bin. These scavengers circle throughout the morn to stalk out their first prey. There's no escape. Once they track you down, there's no place to run away.
Hi, Desiree. Hi, Tallulah. What a weird place this is. I couldn't help overhearing Dr. Seamus and Stoneheart were alluding to that we're not supposed to know. Do you guys have any idea what it might be?
Well, I'm not sure. Shakespeare is more aware of what goes on here, but I've heard the rumors.
What kind of rumors?
Rumors about patients who are here one day and gone the next. And nobody knows why or how they disappeared.
That's crazy. That shouldn't happen in a hospital.
Bellevue is not your ordinary hospital.
How did you both end up here?
Well, Shakespeare was probably conceived on the ward. He's been locked up so long. He seems to prefer this purgatory to the one outside. Desiree can speak for herself. But I finally broke my last straw, went bonkers, and sliced my wrist. If my neighbor hadn't come in for a can of beer and discovered me in the bathtub, I'd be an angel like you.
Tallulah, you said you were so excited about discovering you were gay. What went wrong?
Pulls her hair.
Irony. That double-crossing son of a bitch came along, turned everything upside down, and there went my rebirth.
What irony?
After I discovered I was gay, I fell madly in love with a princess, and...
How wonderful!
Not so wonderful. I fell madly in love with a prince at the same time. You see, I was bisexual after all, not gay. And I had to choose between my two lovers, but couldn't let either of them go. Finally, they fell in love with each other, dumped me, and ran off to their own castle, leaving me alone. God, I'd kill for a whiskey sour right now. You haven't seen any bourbon around here. Just kidding.
Tallulah smiles wistfully and then sings, "Everyone Leaves Me," raising her hand as if it held a cocktail glass and toasting the others.
That's the wrong song.
Number 6.
I'll drink to that.
That's it, that's it, that's it.
Everyone leaves me, nobody stays. Everyone tires of tinsel face. Even the best time, even the great times, romance always ends. On that you can depend. Everyone dashes, they sprint about. After the party, the herd moves out. None to seduce me, no one to goose me. There are no lips to kiss. Whatever happened to my bliss? Everyone promised, everyone lied. All of our best plans withered and died. Don't trust your husband, don't trust your wife. Marriage is alright, but not for all your life. Whatever happened to fairy tales? My once upon a time got late and stale. Whatever happened to happily ever after? Where is the clapping? Where is all the laughter? I am always left alone. Is there anybody home like me? How alone can anybody be? Where are my visions and callow dreams? Even the relatives I hated left me. Oh, so soon. And all the future, that rattling, dazzling future, it ran away from me. How patient could it be? The days grow short without the zest. The nights are long without much rest. And champagne bubbles grow very flat. And gorgeous babies turn old and fat. Oh God, just think of that. Even basements fall and frown as the
The end.
Raising his arms and speaking in his divine voice to Tallulah.
My child, this is not the end. You never know what lurks around the corner.
Suddenly Shakespeare crosses the room wearing an outlandish clown outfit, and the three of them can't resist chuckling. Scene 5. Malcolm X Washington and Dr. Seamus are in the latter's office. The door is left open to the main ward, and Stoneheart can be seen waiting in the doorway. Malcolm, tied up in a straitjacket, is seated in a chair opposite the doctor's desk.
This is Malcolm X Washington, Dr. Seamus. He's here for his first appointment.
Fighting to break free, he addresses Seamus.
So you're the big kahuna around here. What the fuck is your name anyway?
Dr. Jared Lockhart Seamus III.
That's more syllables than a string of brain cells. Okay, Dr. Blah Blah the third. Let me out of this cage. You have no right to incarcerate me.
Actually, Malcolm X Washington, you're the one with no rights around here. You're in Beauview. Beauview Hospital for the Insane, or have you forgotten? Since your son died, you...
Murdered! He was murdered! 18-year-old boys don't just lie, they're killed by the establishment, Dr. Death.
It's hard for you to accept the truth. He's the one who volunteered for service. Nobody made him fight in Iraq.
Fuck you and your self-righteous attitude. Doctors, lawyers, military, you're all the same.
Tell me about your son.
George Washington.
Malcolm X Washington names his son after the founder of our country.
It was his mother's idea. Josephine never could accept the fact I was a political radical. So she did it just to spite me.
It sounds very noble.
Noble my ass. It completely screwed him up. Never could figure out who the hell he was, poor bastard. Damn fool didn't realize he was fighting for the wrong side. America's the perpetrator of violence, not the poor countries we evade and destroy. You put the wrong people in these jails and nut houses, Dr. Corporation, and let me out of this hellhole.
Tell me more about George and your ex.
Bitch alienated George from me from the beginning. Always for her own greed. He was young and naive. If only I'd had a few more years with him, maybe he could have come around.
I guess it's hard for you to believe he's gone. A young man with his whole future in front of him.
Yeah. And now he's a bunch of rotting bones like your friend. In a fucking hole in the ground. They buried my baby in a military cemetery. The symbol of everything I detest, as if killing him wasn't enough.
So that's when you lost it and attacked the officers at the funeral.
Damn right, and I'll do it again. That was the last straw.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law before?
Hell no. I felt like hell to get us out of Nam. Blew me away to find out Kennedy was just as corrupt as all the others. This so-called great democracy of yours is just a sham. Like those plastic flowers on your desk.
Malcolm sings Merry-Go-Round.
Merry-go-round, merry-go-round, it's so fun that people go up and then down on the ground and back around while never stopping to know that there's nowhere to go but around and then rebound while meanwhile everyone acts as if everything's fine and yet nobody notices all the conspiring. There is no sanctity, justice or sanity left. When will we wake up? Where is the truth behind all of the lying? And where's our democracy? Why is it dying? And when will the enemy take off their masks so pretending while laughing and sighing, then screeching and writhing. The CIA is spying while always terrorizing. Everyone acts as if everyone's fine, but they're not very merry at all.
So, first you lose your country, then your son. No wonder you're full of animosity. Underneath all that rage, you must be feeling a lot of pain.
Give the doctor a Pulitzer Prize for psychobabble. Of course I'm in pain, you moron. The irony, though, is that you're not. You lost your country, too. You just don't know.
Your paranoia sounds delusional, Mr. X.
And your naivety is delusional, Dr. Blah Blah. Interesting twitch you've got there, by the way. A little weird like the rest of us, are you?
All your hostility toward me and the corruption in America won't bring your son back to life, and it sure won't get you out of here. I'm afraid you're going to be a guest in our palace for a long time.
Seamus holds up a large latchkey, dangling it in front of Malcolm's face to flaunt at the other.
You bastard. I'll escape one way or another, and maybe over your dead body.
Still straitjacketed, Malcolm lunges for Seamus and attempts to kick and bite him. Stoneheart rushes into the room and shoots Malcolm in the thigh with a very large syringe needle.
Bye-bye, loony.
Malcolm collapses in the nurse's arms and loses consciousness.
So, Dr. Seamus, I was finally able to repair it. What happened to what's his name and you know who won't happen again? I think we're ready to test it out on a new patient. How about Mr. X?
You're so impatient, Stoneheart, and this one is a definite possibility. I don't like his attitude. But let me give it a little more thought. Won't be long now, my friend. It won't be long.
Scene 6, group therapy room. The group is attended by Shakespeare, Tallulah, Jay, Desiree, Malcolm, and Seamus. Stoneheart stands at the door.
Perhaps this would be a propitious time for you to introduce yourself officially to the group. Mr. Why do we just call you John Smith?
We should call you Angel. I mean, isn't that what you said before? Isn't that what you said you were this morning?
The name's unimportant. I'm just a messenger.
How about Jay? I like Jay for Jesus, or even better, Jeremiah. Wasn't he the prophet in the Old Testament who warned the people to return to God on all the great news?
Haven't you noticed, lady, it already has? We're all killing one another. Now, this guy's just a drinker. Just ask Dr. Blah Blah the Third. We ought to call him Don Quixote, kooky Shakespeare here, Sancho Panza.
It's not too late to dream, my friend. Open your heart and anything is possible.
You seem preoccupied with everyone's salvation, Mr. Smith. Could it be your own that's at stake here?
And you, doctor, are very preoccupied with dis-ease. You are just as depressed as your patients. If you could all feel how precious life is, your problems would dissolve along with all the wars and insane asylums on this planet. Believe in me and thou shalt be free.
Yeah, right. I think you're naive, Mr. Luke Skywalker. Your great force ain't no match for the greed and corruption on this planet.
I'll bet there's a part of you that hasn't completely given up hope, Malcolm. Just try to believe in a loving presence. What do any of us have to lose?
Why, thank you, Dr. Angel. for leading today's group. Perhaps we should promote you and your divine presence to chief psychiatrist.
There's room for all of us to be healers, Dr. Shamus. There's plenty of suffering to go around and so much need for understanding and compassion.
What's wrong, Tallulah? You look terrible.
You said it. I look terrible. I made the mistake of looking into a mirror this morning. You're young and beautiful, Desiree, and have your whole life ahead of you. I'm just a shriveled up has-been.
She tears up. The others protest in unison, but she goes on wiping her eyes with her sleeve.
Lies. All lies. I may be ugly, but I'm not blind. Back in the dark ages, I was, well, practically a hit on Broadway. And dare I say it, a tad drop-dead gorgeous. And even did a few chorus lines at the Palace. But now, I can barely do a two-step.
Makes a few attempts to tap dance, gives up, disgusted, and
See what-
slinks back down into her chair.
See what I mean? Crumbling fossil with two left feet.
Sings, "Now my time is over."
The sun is setting, the day is coming to an end. No use pretending, we know what lies beyond the bend. So many things I wished for never did come true. The hours running out before I even knew. Don't trust tomorrows, it's later than it ever seems. Scared of not living, of having never realized dreams. The looks I took for granted ran away from me, leaving a memory of what I used to be. And now my time is over. How did it pass me by? If only I could grab it and have just one more try. I never got my encore. I never took my vow. So how can I surrender and give it all up now? Within the mirror, I see a stranger glare at me, a faded shadow. How shocking life turned out to be.